Annyeong, and welcome to Henry Miller's Movie Reviews, where I take a look at films I've never seen before but others likely will have done. And today I'm having a look at the Ki-Duk 2003 film, Spring, Summer, Fall, Winter, and Spring. I feel like 2003 was really the breakout year for Korean cinema, because that year you obviously had this film along with Old Boy and Memories of Murder. I mean, arguably the two best films that year, and this film which is supposed to be up there as well. So I don't really know much about it other than it's about a monk. I think that's really the extent of it. Also, I am aware of the accusations against Ki-Duk, who passed away from COVID, I think, in 2020, I believe. But I'm not really going to be discussing that, since I do largely feel like you should separate the art from the artist. Although in circumstances where their controversies and art collide, it's really difficult to ignore. I mean, Manhattan's kind of a prime example of that. So let's get cracking and see if I'm gonna uncover a new Korean gem from 2003. We'll see. So we follow a monk who lives on a wooden platform on a lake, who has a small boy handed to him for him to raise, and through many years we see them develop as people and use the seasons to show this development and passage of time. This was one of the most peaceful films that I've ever seen. Even though it does have some pretty distressing things in it, it is a very meditative and soothing piece of work. There are a few themes that are going on here, much of which probably just went right over my head. There is a scene right at the beginning where a child ties a string to three animals, a fish, a frog, and a snake, with a rock attached. And upon discovering this, the monk orders him to remove them and sends him back on his way with a rock tied to his back, just to see how he likes the shoe being on the other foot. And when he returns, two of the animals have already died and the child is visibly distressed, which then comes full circle at the end when the child is all grown up and replaced the original monk and taken in a child themselves who does the exact same thing. And I'm not really sure if this was supposed to be a comment on the needless cruelty of humanity and how nothing changes, whether that is using animals as a metaphor or whether it's, you know, being literal, talking about how we abuse animals and treat them really poorly. But, you know, each generation is still capable of malice, even at a young age, and even animals play a part in representing each season, as a new one appears in each segment with a dog, a cockerel, a cat, and snake again. I also read somewhere that apparently the snake is supposed to represent the original monk, as I think there's a discussion about reincarnation in there somewhere. I'm not entirely sure about that though, like, could be complete codswallop. I'm really not that well versed on spirituality, to be perfectly honest. I mean, what I know about Buddhism wouldn't fill the back of a postage stamp. There are also these doors that open up for the introduction of each season, which is maybe, I suppose, to represent a window into each part of the story. Even though it's essentially a door frame, no one ever walks around the doors. Everyone's always respectful and make sure that they walk through them as if there's a wall between either side. I saw an explanation of the video which suggested that it represents lessons to follow tradition and show obedience to the values of the ones who came before and has been passed down through many generations, and also showing the kind of openness and acceptance to everyone. Like, no one's prevented from visiting the monastery at all. And another thing that really struck me relating to the peacefulness is the cinematography. There's just some really beautiful shots in this film, and it's really gorgeous to look at, just overall. I mean, the way that it just displays the great outdoors in all its glory is really marvellous. And I can imagine that there must have been a lot of natural lighting when shooting this as well. It's also important to note that this feels like a silent film for much of the runtime. There is very little dialogue, and if anyone who's not a fan of subtitles, not naming names, but you know who you are, this could be a good one to show to such a person, although, you know, be aware there is some disturbing stuff in it. I'm not really going to go into detail, but there's some scenes which I was like, fucking hell, oh my god. So, you know, just be prepared to be alarmed. But, you know, existence is suffering. You know, you can't avoid it. Maybe that's the part of the message of the film, I don't know. While it is slow, it is a very rewarding experience as you go through these huge changes in both these monks' lives. I'm gonna give this 9 out of 10. There is a huge amount to admire in this film, and it does pose a lot of questions about existence, and also, you know, let's be honest, I mean, as someone who's lacking in discipline in my life, maybe a monastery would do me some good, although... So, those were my thoughts on spring, summer, fall, winter and spring, which I would say it lived up to the hype. It was pretty damn good. I mean, it's not as good as Memories of Murder or Oldboy, but, you know, for 2003, it's right up there. Let me know what you thought of the film in the comments. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Also, you can follow me on Letterboxd. Have a terrific day, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye. I really like this jersey. I mean, it's one of my favourite ones that I have. I'm going to have another one right here, which is also pretty cool. Actually, I might prefer this one. But, yeah, it's cool. Korea's been killing it with the jerseys recently.